Spring wouldn't be spring without a spread of golden daffodils in the garden, but we don't have gardens big enough for displays like this. But that's no reason why we shouldn't grow them. Narcissus Burbocodium, rather a clumsy name for a delicate little plant. Daffodils come in all shapes and sizes and colours, as you can see here, and there's no reason why we shouldn't be denied growing them in the garden if we can grow them in pots. And there's one plant that's particularly suited to growing in pots, and that's the hoop petticoat daffodil. But don't be put off by their rather fragile appearance. They come from southwest France, parts of Spain and Portugal, and reach into North Africa. Tough as teak, but the one thing they won't suffer is poor drainage. So when you grow them in a pot, make sure you have a free draining open compost, and they'll flourish for you. The traditional yellow types come from the European countries, but the creamy whites that I'm growing here come from Morocco. I'm not concerned so much about the width of the pot as the depths. Narcissus are deep rooting, and with these really small bulbs, you still need to give them plenty of room to produce the roots, and also contributes towards the drainage as well. Plant the bulbs roughly 25-30 millimeters apart. You can always spread them later on, and they say rough fill them, settle the compost, gently firm it as you go along, and bring it up to within about, as you can see there, the depth of your finger from the top. You still need to put plenty of coverage on them, because the last thing you want is the compost drying out over the bulbs. These are relatively small bulbs, and if they dry out, they could shrivel. Well, I must admit, there's not much likelihood of them drying out during the winter time, but it is a question of hard frost getting in deep enough and actually sort of causing problems. So here we go. Just check the bulbs for one last time to make sure that everything is okay. I've got 16 bulbs, so I'll put them in 4x4, and that'll take care of that. Just check them. Just gently press them into the compost, not too hard. And the one thing we will do then is to cover the bulbs themselves with a layer of compost, and then on top of the compost we'll put some sharp grit just to add to the protection for the winter time, to keep hard frosts and to disperse the effect of the rain on them. And then I keep them under the shade of the house where they remain relatively dry, get a little bit of warmth from the actual protection from the house itself. I've already mentioned these plants are quite hardy. They will grow. You can't put them in the garden to naturalize. The reason I grow them in pots is because it allows me to bring them up close to the house. I can put them on tables, ledges, windowsills, outside, never bring them indoors. But at least you can look at them. And there you can see 4x4, and they're ready for covering now. And the important thing is, when you put the compost in, just gently spring it over the top to settle them. You don't want to be knocking any over or dislodging them. And then just gently firm the compost around them. And as I say, we're almost there now, and they'll be ready for standing out. And as I say, don't mollycoddle them at all. Just make sure that they don't get waterlogged. And obviously, if the weather is really, really hard, if there are low temperatures, then make sure you offer them some protection. When you finish covering them, just level the surface of the compost off, lightly using a wooden presser, and so just make sure there are no soft spots or any air pockets underneath the surface, and then everything is ready for labeling and covering them with grit and standing outside. After labeling them, the final job is just to cover them with the sharp grit. I don't be surprised if the shoots begin to push through before the new year, because like us, they can't wait for next spring to arrive. But they'll grow so far, and then they'll stop growing and waiting for the longer days of next year and a little bit more warmth. And they should be flowering round about the end of March to early April. Just a quick recap on the bulbs I've planted. There's Arctic Bells, which is the creamy coloured one. And then we have White Petticoat, obviously white, and my favourite of all, which is Oxford Gold. And the other thing I've got to mention as well is that they all have a delicate fragrance. Diolch, and thank you for watching. Goodbye for now, but if you would like to see any more, please hit the subscribe and like buttons.